Hello, you guys, and welcome back to Mystical Visions. So, today we have a very powerful reading to look forward to because today we're going to check in with your inner child. Now, I'm going to warn you, this might be very intense, so if you're not in the headspace, save this video, come back to it later. But if you're ready to do some solid shadow work, welcome. As always, we have three piles. We're going to take a look at what your inner child appreciates about you and how things are going. We'll look at where your inner child needs some healing, as well as some advice from your inner child. So as always, we have three pre-shuffled piles. For pile number one, we have a jade. Will we focus? Yes, we will. For pile two, we have a sodalite crystal. Beautiful. And for pile number three, we have garnet. So, as always, I'll give you guys some time to take a look at these piles and see which calls to you, which resonates. Timestamps are in the video description. As always, if this video helps you and you find that it resonates, please remember to oh, that was loud. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel out so much. And yeah, I'll give you some time with the piles, and I'll see you at your reading. Hi, pile one, and welcome to your reading about a message from your inner child. So if you picked this apparently slippery jade crystal, then this is your reading. Okay. Oh, I want to say, when I was shuffling for you, your tarot cards all came out the exact number without flipping over. So whatever your inner child has to say to you, I feel like it's going to come through loud and clear, and you might actually already know some of these messages. Just wanted to put that out there. But let's get into your reading. So for our first three cards, we're going to take a look at messages from your inner child where they are very happy with something that you've done for them and, things are going well, what these things are. Then with these, we'll take a look at where your inner child could use a little more help, a little more healing. And then finally, with the oracle cards, we'll look at some advice that your inner child has for you. So let's start with things that are going well, things that your inner child is grateful to you for. So first we have the Fool in reverse. Then we have the Two of Coins. And finally we have the Nine of Swords. Okay. Straight away I'm hearing this is not your first go at life on Earth. This is not your first time here. You are not a new soul. You might be a very old soul, actually. But I do feel that there is a lot about the human experience that is very new to you still. Because with the Fool showing up at all, even though it is in reverse, I do think that there are aspects of your life right now, of this current lifetime, that your soul hasn't necessarily experienced before. It almost feels like this experience that you've chosen to experience in this lifetime is very, very new. And therefore you might feel like everything is unfamiliar, but you are not like a brand new soul. You've been to this planet before and you've been here several times. It's just that what you experienced, especially growing up, has been quite different to what you've experienced in other lifetimes. With the Two of Coins, it talks about barely holding things together, barely holding things in balance. I think your inner child wants you to give yourself more credit than you do, because it feels like with this Nine of Swords, you might be someone who struggles a lot with something like anxiety. Nine of Swords is usually the anxiety card. And you might be someone who struggles with that quite frequently. But despite that, you're still able to hold everything together. Even though it feels like it's all about to fall apart at any moment, you are still brave and you are wise enough to understand that even if things are scary, sometimes you just have to show up, and there is no two ways about it. And your inner child is grateful that you do show up, despite how scary things can feel. You might struggle with like a panic disorder, or you might have panic attacks a lot. But despite that, you're still carrying on. And you're not running away. You're not choosing to just abandon everything and start over. I feel like you are someone who will persevere. You will look at the difficult thing, feel that fear, and do it anyway. And your inner child is so grateful that you have that fighting spirit, because I feel like that is what has helped them survive. That fighting spirit might be what got you through what could be like a troubled childhood, a difficult time growing up. That perseverance, the resilience, that's the word. The resilience is what has got you through some very difficult times, and it's the reason your inner child survived. I think you might be someone who had to grow up quite early, and your inner child is maybe a little forlorn about it, a little wistful. They kind of wish they had more time to explore and play, but they understand that responsibilities were always thrust on you. And even now, I think you have a lot on your plate. You have a lot of responsibilities. And because of that, you may not be able to take a breath. You may not be able to sit down and relax. But your inner child appreciates that you keep going anyway. This is a very resilient pile. You guys are some fighters, I'll tell you that. But your inner child is definitely very, very grateful for that fire that keeps you on all the time. That's powerful, pile one. So with that, let's take a look at an area where your inner child feels they need your help. So we have the Two of Cups in reverse. The Emperor also in reverse. And the Eight of Wands. Pile one, straight away, I feel like your inner child is lonely. I feel like your inner child longs to have people around that really understand them. The company that you keep currently might be very go, might be very fast-paced. You might probably only really have friends that are co-workers or are business contacts or are classmates, that kind of thing. And it feels like your inner child longs to have a more intimate friendship, a more intimate relationship with people. Because with the Two of Cups in reverse, the Two of Cups upright is soulmate energy, perfect match energy. So to see that reverse, it almost feels like your inner child has so much to say, but they fear that no one will understand them, or that there is no one to listen in the first place. let alone understand them. You might be isolating a lot, probably because it feels safe, especially if you have come from a difficult childhood. It might feel a lot safer to just be alone, to not allow people in, and that way you have control over your environment. But that usually, or almost certainly, comes at the cost of feeling very, very lonely. And we are not meant to be alone. We are not meant to be all by ourselves. In fact, you might have a touch of the old hyper independence, which, hello, welcome to the group. But that hyper independence might make you feel quite isolated. It's almost like you feel like no one will. Oh, okay. I think you might be a little overprotective of your inner child, because you feel like no one will ever be able to keep it safe the way you keep it safe. Because although you want to believe in, a partner or friends or family that you can trust and building a community, I think deep down you also truly believe that no one else would ever care for you the way you can care for you. And that may be true, but I think you might have put a wall up where you won't even let people try. You won't even let people get to know the true you, let alone your inner child, your deepest, most vulnerable parts. And while as an adult, it's easy to rationalize this, to think, okay, this is for my safety. Your inner child wants to go out. They want love. They want friends. They want connection to other people and their inner child. And to keep that child locked away, there's no other way to put it. It is cruel. It is cruel. So I think where your inner child needs you to step up is to let them out sometimes and let yourself be a little vulnerable sometimes and allow people in so that you can let yourself out, if that makes sense. Because with this 8 of Wands, your inner child is like ready. They're like, let's go. I'm so ready to share my story. I'm so ready to go out there and meet people and make connections and do fun stuff with our friends. Like, let's do it. And then your anxiety kicks in. And it's like, oh, maybe we're just safe, by ourselves. And then your inner child is like, but I want connection. I want to feel what it's like to connect with another soul on this planet. I'm just trying to see if there's a lot of like Aries energy, a lot of fire, a lot of air, some water, some earth, but mostly air and fire signs. Or maybe there's some fire signs approaching you and your inner child is like, can sense it. And it's like, when they come in, it's time to let them in. It's time to let them in. We better do this healing work before this person comes in or these people come in. It could very well be like 8 separate people coming into your life to build like a family around you. And your inner child is like, we better get to that point when they come in, because it might well be your soul tribe. It might well be your soul family that have incarnated with you over several lifetimes. But like I said, this one feels different because what you experienced early in your life is not something you've dealt with in other lifetimes. So when these people come in, unless you've done your healing, it's quite possible that you might not even recognize them, and you might miss the opportunity to have lasting, fulfilling connections with people, with other souls. So your inner child definitely wants you to start opening up to the idea of letting people in so that you don't miss out when these people come in. That actually goes really well with one, the Fool card, but also this that we were just talking about. You will survive this. It almost feels like you feel threatened, like your survival instinct is kicked up when it comes to letting people in, which is fair enough. But your inner child is like, look at how rich the world inside you is. Look at how beautiful and colorful and magnificent, I've never said that word before, magnificent this earth inside you is, this world inside you is. Your inner child is desperate to let that out and to show what it is capable of. It's like if you were to take your car into the mechanics and get it serviced and then never drive it again. I feel like you've done so much healing with your inner child and you're never letting it out again. It's like, I guess that's okay, but what was the point of doing the healing, right? But I do think there's a lot of new beginnings coming in. There's a lot of new people coming into your life, Pile 1. And you definitely need to start opening up to the idea of letting these people in and letting them get to know you, not the facade, not the person who has it all together, not the anxiety. You, like your inner authentic self, is what these people deserve, because that's what they are willing to give you. You might have been surrounded by very one-sided connections in the past, and that may have hardened you a little bit, but it's time to grow beyond that, right? Next we have yes. Just say yes. Yeah. See? Your inner child is, I'm getting this feeling of like, when a child wants something and they want it and they'll ask you a million times and like, just say yes. I want it so bad. Just say yes. That's kind of how I'm feeling. It's like, just say yes. Just let people in. Let me have friends. Just say you'll let me have friends. That's sweet. There's a very like playful, innocent energy, which I think your inner child is so grateful that you've preserved and protected, but they're also raring to let that out. So just say yes when it's time. Or even right now, just say yes to opening up to the idea of new people in your life, of possibly trusting people. And our final card is the Bobcat Spirit in reverse. Life is a mystery. Now, I always like to read these from the book, so let me just go get the book real quick. So, we have the Bobcat Spirit. Life is a mystery. Number 8. Maybe this inner child self is from like when you were 8 years old. Maybe you might recognize the energy as being approximately that age. So, Bobcat Spirit protection message. Bobcat Spirit tells you this is not a time to reveal your deepest, most cherished dreams and desires to others, but rather a time to be quiet and gentle with yourself as truths begin to emerge in your awareness. Self-protection is called for, so be discerning and reveal no more than is necessary. Let your logical mind take a rest as you start to perceive the energy of your environment. Bobcat Spirit wants you to be stealthy and wise and keep your own counsel. Let yourself be a mystery yet to be revealed. That is interesting because it feels like it contradicts all of this message. Maybe it's about the nuance, because your grown up self is like very concerned about people taking advantage of you or hurting you in any way, whereas your inner child is like, let's tell everyone every single thing, let's let every person in. And maybe the biggest piece of advice here is to find a balance. Ooh, that Two of Coins balance energy. Yeah. Maybe it's like, don't listen to this one, don't listen to this one. Find a middle ground. Yeah, find a middle ground. Keep your own counsel until you find that there's people who you can trust. But then once you can, make sure you open up to them. How fascinating. But that's your message from your inner child, pile number 1. I really hope it resonated and it brought you some support and clarity. If it did, then please remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really helps the channel out so much. Thank you so much for spending some time with me and sharing your energy with me today, letting me read for you. I really hope it helped. Stick around to the outro for another reading on my channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye! Hi Pile 2, and welcome to your reading about messages from your inner child. So if you picked this beautiful sodalite crystal, then welcome, you're in the right place. So I've gone ahead and pre-shuffled your cards. With these first 3 tarot cards, these will tell us what your inner child is grateful for, what's going great for them, and what they appreciate about you and what you've done for them. With these tarot cards, we'll take a look at where your inner child feels it needs a little more support, where they feel they need a little more work from you. And then finally, with these oracle cards, we'll take a look at some advice either from your inner child or from just the universe as a whole, in order to improve your inner child healing. Sorry, I'm a little spaced out. Do you know what's interesting? I recorded these in the wrong order, and your pile did not necessarily want to be recorded when I wanted to record it. That's very interesting. I feel like these are some messages that you might not necessarily want to hear because they might be a little heavy, but you need to, I promise. Okay, so what are some things that your inner child appreciates that you've done for them? First, we have Temperance in reverse. We have the Two of Wands also in reverse. And we have the Six of Cups. Okay. What does your inner child appreciate? With the Temperance in reverse, you might be breaking out of your shell of, being perfect and still and constantly, preparing for the future and being absolutely well polished all the time. You might be someone who does that. You might be someone who has to have everything under control, has to have perfect balance. And I think your inner child is appreciating that you're starting to step out of that a little bit. You might be stepping into a more fiery energy. You might be stepping into more Aries, kind of chaotic Sagittarius type energy, which is interesting because Temperance is a Sagittarius card. With the Two of Wands in reverse, it kind of feels like with this deck specifically, I always feel like the Two of Wands is like one eye to the past, one eye to the future. And so to have that in reverse with this specific deck always makes me think of being in the present moment. This could be something that you've struggled with a lot and you've recently healed, is the concept of being present. You might have had a lot of issues from a very young age where you were constantly worried about the future or worried about the past, and you're in a place today where you've got comfortable with, if not excited to or happy to. You're vaguely comfortable with being present and engaging with the world around you right now. And with the Six of Cups, your inner child appreciates that you asked and received support. You might be in therapy. There's a lot of like therapy theme going on today, but you might have actively sought out therapy because you might have recognized this issue, and that has helped you kind of turn it upside down a little bit. Or you might have sought help from people you love, people you know, that kind of thing. But in either case, your inner child appreciates that you asked, because quite frankly, your inner child was probably at like the end of the rope, was a bit like, I literally can't function anymore if we keep going like this. And so you've taken the necessary steps to get them the help that they need. And they really, truly do appreciate that, because already it is allowing them a little more freedom. Because when we are in that tightly controlled energy, we are essentially slowly suffocating our inner child. And now that you have released that and started to entertain the idea of a little less structure, a little more freedom, your inner child feels like they can breathe. They feel like they can finally, like they can finally exist. It's like they were squashed so deeply inside your being, and now it's starting to ease up a little bit. And while, of course, they would like it to ease off completely so that they can really come out and express and be their truest, best selves, this is a start. And they really, truly do appreciate that. This is the beginning of a very long journey, I'm hearing. But it is a beginning. And beginnings are not necessarily very fast-paced. They are not very fun, but they are necessary. I think this might be why your message just did not want to come out, your pile just did not want to be read, is because I think you might be doing this begrudgingly. You might be getting help begrudgingly a little bit, but your inner child thanks you anyway, because to your inner child, it does not matter why you are seeking help or if you even want to. It is the fact that you are. It is the fact that you're willing to possibly do this work in order to set them free. And they appreciate that so, so much, part 2. Okay, so let's look at where your inner child needs a little more help, a little more support from you. So first we have the Chariot in reverse. Then the King of Cups in reverse. And the Page of Wands also in reverse. Okay. 1 major arcana and 2 court cards, all 3 in reverse. Interesting. But the Chariot, your inner child needs you, not just wants you, needs you to slow down. They need you to allow them the time and space. That's why it came out. This is the beginning of a long journey, and it will not always be the most exciting. With the King of Cups in reverse, there will be a lot of emotional strife that will come up. Now, bear with me because I might talk about some triggering things. And if you're not in the headspace to hear about things like abuse as a child, don't listen to the rest of this. But if you're in a space to talk about it, here's the message. You might have had quite severe emotional abuse growing up. Part 2. And because of that, your primary mode of processing emotions might be to avoid. It might be to lose yourself in the day-to-day, to lose yourself in the past and the present, and in doing so, just fully avoid even thinking about your emotions. It almost feels like neglect a little bit, I'm going to be honest. Like emotional neglect. Like you were surrounded by all these people who claimed to love you and they claimed to care for you, but really all they did was the bare minimum of keeping you alive as a child. And when you start to, realize this, and when you start to process this, it's going to be ugly. There's no other way to put it. It's gonna be ugly. It's gonna come up and it's gonna be awful. I know. It's okay. You can do it though. You are strong. You really are. And you are stubborn, I feel, which is a good thing here, because it means that once you've started off on something, whether you like it or not, you're gonna see it through to the end. And that is excellent news. It really is. But your inner child does want you to bear with them, because things might get emotionally distraught. I don't know if that's even English. You might feel a little distraught. You might see all these things coming up for you and realize all the ways in which you've been wronged. And that is never, ever easy to look at. In fact, most of us go our entire lives avoiding looking at that. You might there's a dog. Okay. You might find that you lose motivation a lot, not just for this healing process, but just for life in general. You might find that you get a lot of depression days as you're going through this, and that's okay. That's okay. You will survive it. You will make it through. You will be healed. With every difficult day, you're inviting less and less of them for the future. Does that make sense, pal too? But your inner child right now needs you to... I don't think they need you to do anything. They just need you right now to understand that this is going to take time. It's going to be emotional turmoil. I'm sorry, there's just no pretty way to put it. That's just what it is. It's going to be emotional turmoil, because you need to relive these awful things that happen to you in order to process them and release them. Definitely do this with professional help though, because let me tell you, doing it without professional help is not it, sis. It's not it. And they're warning you that there will be days where you lose motivation, not just for this, but for everything in your life. But they want you to slow down and allow it to wash over you. There's a lot of water sign energy here. A lot of water sign and fire sign. You might have a lot of fire and water placements in your birth chart. And you might find that a lot of... all of your fire placements might be debilitated, and a lot of your water placements might be debilitated. But that's just a whole other issue. But the point is, this is the start of a very long journey. But you can do it. And your inner child is so grateful that you've taken the first step. If you haven't, you must. And then your inner child will be so grateful that you've taken the first step. But this is important work if you ever want to feel okay. If you ever want to feel stable and loved and provided for and secure with who you are, this is important work and you have to do it, pal too. There's no two ways about it. So finally, let's take a look at some advice from either your inner child or the universe as a whole for your inner child journey. First, we have lifting the veil, questioning everything. Anything unaligned must go. I feel like that is exactly what you're about to do. You're about to question every single thing that has happened to you in your life so far. You're about to go on one of them. You know, like when people say they've been on like ayahuasca trips or like LSD trips or whatever, and they come back with this profound, like, reimagining of the entire universe and how life works. It's like that entire worldview is toppled. I feel like that's kind of what you're about to go through, or what you are stepping into right now with this healing process. And you're starting to realize that actually 90% of your life is out of alignment. And that's why you've been in this chaotic energy of refusing to stay in the present moment, because the present moment is not aligned for your highest good. But the good news is you are lifting that veil now. You are questioning everything, and you're realizing that life can only get easier when you realign. Life can only get easier when you cut out things that are not for your highest good. And that, I think, will be the motivation that drives you despite this lack of motivation energy. It's all about the big picture, part 2. Next, we have get grounded. Empaths, highly sensitives, connect with nature. It might help you to connect with nature. It might help you to get into something like gardening, or just going out on walks, learn to swim. Do something that connects you to the elements. Maybe sunbathe, moonbathe. Just spend some time outside. Not like in the city outside, but like among nature. You know, go see some animals, meet some cows. Hang out on a field somewhere. I think it will really help you connect into the present moment, to help you ground, which I think will be very important when it comes to this Chariot in reverse energy of slowing down and, you know, really allowing yourself the time and space to process. But if you don't have access to anything, any kind of nature, it might just be about going inwards and getting grounded. Do some grounding meditations. There's loads on YouTube and they're so good. But it might really help you settle into yourself, settle into your body, your mind, your spirit, into the present moment. Definitely create a grounding practice if you don't have one already. And finally, we have the whale spirit in reverse. Trust the great mystery. I love the whale spirit. It's such a calming, I feel like I want to talk a lot quieter now. It's such a calming presence. But I love to read these from the book. So let's have a look-see. Number 65. That might mean something to you. Whale spirit, trust the great mystery. Protection message. Certainty is not offered to you right now. You're being asked to trust the process of co-creation. Whale spirit reminds you that your primary reality is not that of the material world, but that of the realm of spirit, from which the essence of your dreams and desires take shape before arriving as a specific form. Stay in your present moment awareness and allow the hidden realms to hold your intentions safely until it is time for them to manifest in the realm of form. Some things take longer than others to arrive. Yeah, it's all about trust. And I really enjoyed the message about co-creation, because you have to understand that when you're doing this healing, not only are you co-creating a new future with your inner self or your inner child, you're also co-creating a new world entirely. One where things are better aligned. Because, you know, as in the microcosm, so in the macrocosm, your choices affect the collective as a whole, every little choice. And so when you make the choice to do the healing, yes, you are doing it for yourself. And as a result, everyone else is being prompted to heal as well. Beautiful. So that's your message from your inner child, pile number 2. I know it was heavy, but I really do hope it helped and brought you a bit of clarity and support. If it did resonate, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. It really helps the channel out so much. And thank you so much for spending some time with me and sharing your energy with me. I really hope you feel better soon and that this process isn't as long-winded as your inner child thinks it is. But yeah, thanks so much for letting me read for you today. I hope it helped. Stick around to the outro for another reading on my channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye. Pile number 3, hello, welcome to your reading about messages from your inner child. So if you picked this beautiful garnet, then this is your reading. So I've gone ahead and pre-shuffled your cards for you. These first 3 cards are going to tell us things that your inner child is grateful to you for, things that are going well, and things that they want to appreciate about you. But these next 3 cards will take a look at where your inner child feels like it needs a little more help from you, where it needs a bit of healing. And then finally, we'll take a look at some advice from your inner child, or just from, the universe for your inner child healing work. So without much further ado, let's just dive in. So what does your inner child appreciate about you? What is going great for them? We have the 3 of Swords. We have the Knight of Coins. And we have the King of Cups in reverse. Hey, pile 3, are you going through heartbreak right now? It could be that you're going through like a breakup of some sort. Or just betrayal or something that hurt you. Yeah, with the 3 of Swords, it usually talks about heartbreak, usually in a romantic context, but it doesn't have to be. But something somewhere seems to have hurt your feelings quite badly. But your inner child appreciates that you are willing to slow down. So a lot of the times people, when they go through pain, dejection, heartbreak, stuff like that, they tend to try and push through it and just grind through it and try to move forward without allowing themselves the time to heal. However, you may have been that type of person with this King of Cups in reverse, but I feel you've turned over a new leaf where you are willfully slowing down and giving yourself the time and space to process what's going on here. The Knight of Coins is not someone who will rush forward, even though Knights are supposed to be the fastest moving card in every suit. The Knight of Coins specifically is very sure of where they're going. They are very, what's the word I'm looking for? They know that they won't make a move until they have all the facts. They won't move forward until they know their destination and they know the path. And you may have had a history of being this King of Cups in reverse, kind of emotionally immature person who will just, oh, my heart's broken, let me run off to the next thing. But now you're slowing down. You're allowing yourself the time and space to process this grief. It may also be just grief from the past, grief that you didn't process properly when you were younger or when it happened, that's coming back up, that's resurfacing for you to process. But now you are slowing down, you're taking your time, and your inner child greatly appreciates that. Because it is important for us to process before we can move on. Because otherwise, these wounds just stay deep buried inside us and fester and fester and fester until they explode. Right? I think you've done a lot of diving deep into your soul, into your past, into your healing journey. And a lot, it almost feels like this, whatever this heartbreak is not like a shocker. It's not something that hit you all at once. Even though there is lightning here in the back, which could suggest something happening really quickly, I'm getting the vibe that this is something that happened in the past and it's resurfacing. And it's just hitting you harder now than it did at the time when it was a shock, when it first happened. But your inner child appreciates the fact that you are willing to see that pain and sit with it and feel it, because the King of Cups upright can often be quite almost like an extremely stable card. And while that is great for your day-to-day life, that emotional stability, sometimes we need that chaos energy. Sometimes we need to allow ourselves to feel intensely and to go through the drama of healing. And I think your inner child really appreciates you being open to that. Appreciates that you are willing to go into like the murky depths of this trauma, of this pain and heartbreak, in order to feel it fully and be present while your inner child felt it, and to process it and allow it to be completely healed, instead of just sticking a band-aid on top and pretending there's no dirt underneath. That's beautiful, pile 3. So for the area where your inner child could still use some help, we have Judgment in reverse, the Ace of Pentacles, also in reverse, and the Fool, also in reverse. 2 major arcana and an ace, all 3 in reverse. Where does your inner child need you? Okay. To me, all 3 of these cards talk about new beginnings, with the Fool obviously being the very first of the major arcana, the Ace of Pentacles, literally a new beginning, and Judgment. Now, Judgment is interesting because it talks about Judgment Day, where all the souls are kind of re-risen, resurrected, that's the word, what's re-risen? Resurrected, and based on their actions in their life, they are kind of judged for it, right? It often talks about divine intervention and reaping what you sow, that kind of thing. But in essence, it is a new beginning based on your past actions. To have all of these in reverse, it almost feels like your inner child wants you to stay in this energy a little longer, stay in this heartbreak energy a little longer. Your inner child is not ready to move on quite yet. They're not ready to let go and move forward. They still have a bit more to process. There's still a little more trauma here. There's still a little more almost, okay, so it kind of feels like a life recap. I don't know if that makes sense, but it feels like so you might have recently got into therapy, or you might have been recently making a lot of progress in therapy, or just doing a lot of shadow work, doing a lot of inner work, because it feels like your inner child is kind of chronologically going through all the traumatic events that happened in your life, which is often something that happens in therapy, is you process one at a time. And I think your inner child is like, there's just a little more, I promise, we're almost done. You might be getting a little impatient, pile 3. with this King of Cups in reverse as well, it feels like you might be a little antsy to move forward, a little bit like, oh, I'm done, I'm so ready to be done. And your inner child is like, just a little more, I promise, just a little bit. Because there's still some more there, and your inner child really wants you to your inner child really wants to give you a completely brand new clean slate. Yeah. Your inner child wants you to stay with them because it will be so worth it. This definitely feels like old wounds resurfacing. You might even find that things that never triggered you before are starting to trigger you now. I don't necessarily see that in the cards. It's just a message that came through. You might find that people from your past that used to mean a lot to you, you look back at their actions with like a clearer mind. And you're starting to realize that actually, these are not people I want around anymore. And that's perfectly fine. Because we grow and evolve, and sometimes we outgrow certain relationships. Other times we are just blind to those relationships when we're in them. And then once we have enough space and we've done enough healing, we kind of start to see that maybe there wasn't as much there as we assumed there was. Oh, I have the sniffles. I'm so sorry about the sniffing. But it's really interesting because these messages seem like directly interlinked, where your inner child is grateful that you are patient and that you are taking time. And they're still like, just a little more, please. Just a little more. Just stay with me because it will be so worth it. It'll be so worth it. I think you might struggle with not seeing any real progress. You might be a bit like, okay, I'm doing all this processing and healing and whatever, but where's the results? And your inner child is just like, it's not done yet though. It's not done yet. And when it is, you will see it, I promise. But just bear with me. Bear with me. I think you might be getting to a point where this healing almost feels like a chore. And your inner child is like, I promise it'll be so worth it. Just bear with me. Bear with me. It makes me think of that TikTok sound. Okay. Yeah. But okay, what's interesting is both these cards talk about divine intervention, and both are in reverse. So this is definitely soul assignment. It's not like a divine assignment or like a assignment you need to do for the world. This is definitely very personal healing work. And it feels like if you've asked the universe to help you heal and it's not helped at all, it's because you're meant to do this by yourself. Every one of these main characters is alone. Do you see it? And yeah, you need to... This is for your benefit, not anyone else's. And so in understanding that, you might see that maybe it's okay for you to be a little selfish here and take all the time you need and not have to perform for everyone and not have to forgive people that you don't want to forgive. So finally, let's take a look at some advice from your inner child or from the universe. The first card we have is, I'm not going to say the word because I don't know how to say it. It's a Welsh word. But it says, longing for home, homesick for the stars. You might be a starseed that has incarnated here and then finds all of this just so much work. It's so, like, you're so ready to move on, but your inner child is like, no, we have to stay. But a lot of what motivates your inner child might also be this search for what they can call home. Yeah, like I said, you may be going through each stage of your past and working through it. And then through it all, you might realize, actually, I didn't really have a person or a place to call home where I felt safe, where I felt loved and comforted. But maybe you find through this healing what home means to you. Maybe once you define it, you define what feels safe and good in your soul, maybe then you find it. Our next oracle card is Sisterhood of the Rose, Beauty and Devotion, Priestess, Mystic, Teacher. Interesting. Beauty and devotion. Do you work with Aphrodite by any chance? All three? If not, it might help you. If any of this has to do with your self-image, which it most likely does, you need to start working with the goddess Aphrodite. But it almost feels like that message of you are not alone. There are people who are doing the same healing as you. Oh, okay. Okay. So didn't I just say that all of these characters seem alone? I feel like once you've done a little more of the healing, you might be ready to find your chosen family, your new circle. Because like we said, you might find that a lot of people you've outgrown are still in your life. And once you have a clean slate, you might be ready to go out there and find better suited people for this phase in your life. Because that sisterhood is really standing out for me. And finally, we have the Swan Spirit in reverse, take a deep dive. Or time for a deep dive. Same thing. So these I love to read from the book because they're always so spot on. So number 60, that might mean something to you. You might be 60 years old. You might have been doing this for 60 days. Swan Spirit, time for a deep dive. Protection message. Don't talk yourself into diving deep into something just because you see the potential of things instead of what they really are now. The necessary work and patience involved may not be the best use of your energy. Have you seen the potential in someone and think that if you love and support them, they will become the person who knows you love them beyond all others? Now is not a time for selective, limited perception that can lead to misjudgment. Instead, this is a time for going deep and being honest about what you find as you explore the depths. Can you sense Swan Spirit calling you to dive deep and resurface to choose again? Yeah, I think you're definitely coming to a lot of realizations, especially this definitely feels like a lot of relationship based drama, where you're starting to realize that the people you are surrounded by are not the best fit for you, and that keeping with these relationships and keeping on working on them may be a waste. And instead, you're being called to turn that energy inwards and work on yourself and keep working on yourself. And when it's time, you will resurface like the swan to find your true people. So that's the message from your inner child pal number 3. I really hope this helped and it resonated. If it did, please do remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really helps the channel out so much. Thank you so much for sharing your time and energy with me today and letting me read for you. I really hope it helped. Stick around to the outro for another reading on my channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.